GM. My name's Arnold. I'm co-founder and CEO of Sphere. We do cross-border payments, processing billions a year for people who want to pay friends, vendors, family overseas. And if you want to on or off-ramp your stablecoins or fiat currency, just go to spherepay.co/ramp. First one's free. It's really fast. I think these opportunities are the most interesting because I don't want to show you. I want to tell you a couple of stories. And when we first started, stablecoins today are hot. Several years ago, a lot of things had happened. I think Solana was at like $8. FTX had just happened. When we first raised funds, there was a pretty big regional bank crisis in the United States. And so I remember, trying to convince some of my smartest friends, convince potential investors to look at stablecoins and to look at Solana. And they told me that it's over, man. This technology is dead. Why aren't you doing AI instead? And at that point, we were a little bit too deep in. And while a lot of folks were worried about, financial stability, avoiding bankruptcy, and we were scrambling to figure out what does the target audience for this technology look like when price is going down. It turns out that the people who are the most excited to talk to us kept coming from the emerging world. And so, me and my co-founder, conversation after conversation, decided to go and live there. And that's what we've spent the last several years doing. Really understanding the mechanics of stablecoins, the mechanics of why this is useful to someone who is, say, shipping things overseas. And what are the steps that are involved in getting them onboarded to this technology, which is really the hard part. You can put a lot of things on chain, but if people don't actually want to buy it, if there's no bid, then it doesn't matter. So in the vein of sharing a couple of stories, I wanted to make a quick note of some amazing things that we've had the opportunity to participate in the last year. Working with everything from fintechs to some of the largest international trade companies in the world, even to sovereign nations. Been amazing to see folks like Gentry Beach, as well as large emerging market asset managers like GemCorp, really leverage frontier technology to help make a difference at scale within some of the hardest markets in the world traditionally. The name of the talk is International Trade, and it has a problem. It has a couple of problems. And so the story that I want to tell you about today is about Bob. Bob is 35. He lives in Texas. Bob makes a living doing shipping, especially for machinery. Think tractors, harvesters. And this is Ahmed. Ahmed is from Lagos, Nigeria. He's actually from a town that's a couple of hours north of Lagos. They don't have a lot of machinery natively that Ahmed can use to support the thousands of people that he hires locally to do agricultural production, make wheat, farm things. But because Bob is US-based, Bob is used to taking payments in USD. It's the world's reserve currency. Bob has a credit score, a verifiable employment history, and critically, if things go horribly wrong, Bob can use the court system. Whereas Ahmed, he has to send a SWIFT wire over to Bob in order to make the payment for a shipment of goods. This takes T plus 2, 3, 5, 10. The beautiful or terrifying part, depending on your perspective, is that no one actually knows how long it'll actually take. And it's because, understandably, the local government needs to consider things like capital controls, making sure that the underlying transaction is compliant, providing the right documentation to make sure that the payment goes through properly and there's no bad activity that's being facilitated. But a lot of problems. One, this takes forever. We're talking about shipping machinery from Texas down to Nigeria, 25, 45 days if they're lucky. What if things go wrong? What if the weather doesn't cooperate? What if a payment that needs to go through in order to actually facilitate the shipment of goods happens on a weekend? Then no one can do anything. And every single day that Ahmed needs to wait for that ship to clear at the port, clear customs, to unload the machinery, he has to pay additional fees. pay for the port fees, pay for the personnel as he waits for his Swift wire to clear. And the kicker is that if the order was wrong, the wrong amount of units were shipped, something's missing from the components of the machinery, they have to restart the whole process. And so, we're at a blockchain conference. You're probably thinking, oh, stablecoins and blockchain solve this. I regret to inform you that they do not entirely. Because part of the problem is that Ahmed has a lot of things that he's worried about. He's worried about making the harvest. He's worried about paying his employees. He's not really going to go out of his way to figure out how to hire a Rust dev or a Solidity dev. There's a lot of components that he has to explain to his bank, how this transaction is compliant, is the funds flow legitimate, and in truth, those onboarding and education obstacles are some of the hardest parts of getting Ahmed to use a technology that will improve settlement times and solve a lot of his problems. And people talk about different approaches. There's the bottoms-up approach, where you go to people like Ahmed, you really walk them through how this technology works, and that's kind of what we've done in the last couple of years. But this is really hard to scale. Whereas, if you go top-down, you educate the government, and part of some of our efforts at the sovereign level explain to the central bank and the local banks how this technology makes auditability of the transactions, the verifiability of Ahmed as a counterparty easier. That in of itself is a very long and oftentimes arduous effort. And so the again, beautiful or terrifying truth is you kind of have to do both. You kind of have to both go to the local importers of goods in Nigeria, as well as go to the local government to make sure everything goes through properly. 1/3 of all human time is spent waiting for a weekend, for things to clear, for holidays. And the truth is that these benefits that could accrue to people like Ahmed are exponential and not linear. And so part of what we're working on in the last year at Sphere is identifying these blockers and making sure that we can properly use embedded compliance on-chain, embedded experiences through interfaces that people are used to streamline this whole experience. But as people talk about stablecoins, tokenization, and how this technology can make a difference for those long-tail fiat asset pairs, we encourage everyone who's here at the conference today to think carefully about how you can engage both top-down and bottoms-up to properly accelerate the adoption of this technology. Thank you.